What's up, guys? Jeff with Shock Surplus, and we got a set of 8100s on the table. These have been put through some use. These are an early model 8100s. We are also going to be changing out the bypass adjusters and installing the new quick adjust bypass adjuster. First thing we're going to do is take out the valve cap for the nitrogen ports. And then we are going to release the nitrogen. Make sure all of that is out. Take your Schrader valve core remover. Remove the core. And we're going to take 3mm Allen. Remove the 3 screws up top here. This holds the cap onto the seal head. That removed, we could gotta push down on the seal head to get access to the circlip holding the seal head in. Remove the circlip and go over to the vise. At the vise, and clamp down the shock. And slowly pull on the shock piston. Just so you're not having to fight it so much, you take your bike pump, put a little bit of a positive charge into the shock, and we can pull the shock the rest of the way out. If you have a little hard time with that, you could take a rubber mallet sometimes and hit up on the seal head. Giving you access to your piston assembly. Once you've got that, you could then take your shock out of the vise and dump out all your dirty old fluid. So you could then go to your piston assembly, remove your wear band, and clean off the piston. Move the top nut. Washers. Bilstein makes it really nice and simple for you. Take your old seal head off, grab your new one, and slide that thing down. Once you've got your seal head assembly in place, you then put your piston assembly together. Again, in the order that it was removed. Go ahead and put that aside. Keep that safe. I'll go ahead and take apart the IFP. Now it's time to remove the IFP. To get the IFP out, you're going to want to take air and some kind of a seal to push the IFP out of the reservoir. I like to use compressed air. With the IFP out, you can then remove the bypass adjusters. Take a 19 millimeter socket and put that on the bypass adjusters and remove your compression and rebound adjusters. You're going to want to reuse your spring and your check valve, place that on the new bypass adjusters and reinstall the adjusters. If you had an early version of the 8100s, you may have had this style of a check valve. On the new check valves, they should look like this. If you are going to be doing the quick adjusters on the 8100s, you want to make sure that you have the new style check valve with a bigger hole, shorter stem. With the new adjuster, you're going to reuse your old spring and check valve. With your piston and seal head assembly together, it's now time to fill the shock with shock fluid. What I like to do is take the reservoir, position it lower than the shock body, and fill the reservoir up with fluid. You're going to want to make sure that there's no bubbles in the reservoir and that the reservoir is full to the top. Place your IFP on the reservoir, and as you're doing so, you want to make sure that there's some fluid that comes out on the sides of the IFP up until it gets to the O-ring. And you're going to slide your IFP into the reservoir. What this does is it makes sure that there's no air in the reservoir, and you can then push the IFP and push that all the way down to the bottom of the reservoir. Once you have your IFP bottomed out, you're going to want to fill your shock body with fluid, giving time for the fluid to flow into the bypass tubes. What I like to do is I'll fill the body up, and I'll take my hand, cover the shock, and I'll take the shock body out of the vise and rotate the shock body. And doing this helps release any air that might be trapped in the bypass tubes. Once I've done this a few times, I can place the shock back onto the vise and slide the piston assembly into the shock. With the piston assembly in the shock, I'll then cycle the piston through the shock fluid until I see no more bubbles that comes out as I'm cycling through the shock body. With that done, I'll then top off the shock body with more fluid. I'll then push the seal head down into the shock body, making sure that there again is fluid that comes out the sides of the seal head, up until I get to the point where the seal head O-ring is in the shock body. And this is again to make sure that there is no air bubbles trapped in the shock. You're going to want to push down on the seal head so that the O-ring gets past the circlip groove and reinstall your circlip. Once this is done, put your reservoir end cap into the reservoir with your now clean shock, tying your end cap onto your seal head assembly. You then take your valve core tool and reinstall the valve core and charge your shock with nitrogen. If you guys have any questions or want us to rebuild the shocks for you, give us a call, drop us a comment, leave us a like, hit us up at shocksurplus.com.